Today I want to talk about how Citadel will not survive the coming or current recession. I want to talk about how Citadel is vulnerable right now, what would happen if Citadel actually fails, and what could trigger Citadel's failure. So stay tuned and let's make some money. And now I want to dive straight in with the key information. So Pip and Sammy tweeted saying, remember in 2008 that Citadel was only 2 days away from failing, per Ken Griffin in an interview he did years later. He said Citadel did survive, but barely. Here's an article that explains just how bad it was. This time I think it's much worse and that Citadel will fail. So this article talks about Citadel under siege. It says Ken Griffin's $15 billion firm was flirting with disaster this fall. It says on the morning of Friday, October 24th, James Forsey, Citigroup's head of capital markets, picked up the phone and called Kenneth C. Griffin. For Forsey it wasn't an easy call to make, but he felt compelled to do it. People were gossiping all over Wall Street, on CNBC and on blogs that Citadel was toast. Word had it that the firm's two largest hedge funds were down as much as 40%. Talk of the firm's liquidation was rampant. Ken Griffin had been holding secret meetings with the Federal Reserve looking for a bailout. According to the scuttlebutt, Citadel was shaping up to be the next tragedy of the credit crisis. And we know from a video of a Ken Griffin speech, he spoke about exactly what he did to survive the last financial crisis and the last recession, talking about cutting staff and cutting costs to survive only a few more days, as Citadel at one point only had enough cash to survive a mere 48 hours. Back in 2008, Citadel was under a lot of stress, their funds were down significantly and they were very close to being liquidated. And we know that right now in 2022, there's plenty of similar signs that Citadel is once again under that same stress. Citadel has been recalling in loans, they've been redeeming investments, they've been taking out new loans, Ken Griffin himself has been selling off his personal assets, all to help buy Citadel a few more days. And we also know that this week the Bank of England has confirmed the UK is already in a recession, and it stated that it will last longer than the Great Recession of 2008. And Unusual Wales asks, is the US next? Now obviously if the US enters a similar recession that is planned to last longer than 2008, Citadel won't have these extra 2 days to survive, especially if the recession lasts longer. The stock market is likely to fall further than it did back in 2008, the recession is likely to last even longer, and Ken Griffin is likely to lose even more money than he already has and will likely end up going bankrupt. Citadel likely won't survive. And it seems insiders at the Fed already know exactly what's coming, and that's why there's a reason all of the Fed voting members sold their shares at the very tippy top. The Fed right now is warning of low market liquidity in the current $24 trillion Treasury market in its latest financial stability report. Previous financial stability reports reported that AMC and GameStop, aka meme stocks, posed a risk to financial stability. And right now it's saying the current low market liquidity is also posing a very similar risk to financial stability as well. Nobody wants to trade in this current market because they know that it's rigged. Even these institutions and hedge funds don't want to trade, and that's why there's such low market liquidity. Shoring up market liquidity and making sure the market is liquid is the job of market makers. It is the job of Citadel to make sure the market is liquid at all times. Now, if right now the market is not liquid and the Fed recognises this as they're showing it as a risk to financial stability, that means that Citadel is not doing its job. That means that Citadel doesn't have enough cash to support market liquidity. Citadel is literally not doing its job as a market maker, which is to provide market liquidity, as the current market liquidity is low. That again is just another warning sign that Citadel right now is stressed, and if the US does enter a recession, or if the recession the US is currently in ends up getting worse, it means that Citadel likely won't survive. But what exactly would happen if Citadel actually ended up defaulting? Well, Dennis Keller, the CEO of Better Markets, actually spoke on the systemic risk and the bank failure that would be caused if Citadel defaults. Now this part of the interview was actually cut from the CNBC live stream, but the video is still there, so let's give it a listen. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to join the free Discord linked in the description below. We have 1348 indicators and we talk about AMC all day long, sharing due diligence. And also be sure to sign up to Moomoo to get $10 absolutely for free, and also 15 free shares on top of that, worth up to $2,000 each, a whopping total of up to $30,000.
Even though they are a dominant player right now, we have to look at what would be the scenario if they failed. And the concerns that we have for systemic risk ultimately go to cascading failures. And what we really ultimately worry about is whether the banks fail.
The SEC should not exclude companies like Citadel from Regulation SCI, which is supposed to have resilient infrastructure. And the SEC inexplicably excluded broker-dealers like Citadel from that regulation and those requirements. So there's a risk on the infrastructure side, and there's a risk on the systemic institution side. For anybody to say, if Citadel shut down today, even for a day, that means 26% of all U.S. equities volume in 8,900 listed securities would stop. It executes 47% of all U.S. listed retail volume. It represents 99% of the traded volume of 3,000 listed options. To say that the system would work perfectly fine if all had evaporated today and competitors would come into the market, that may ultimately happen, but until it ultimately happens, you're going to have a systemic event. And to deny that is to deny reality.
Thank you, gentlemen. Time has expired. I now happily read.
So right there, Dennis Keller is saying that if Citadel did actually fail, even for a day, a massive portion of the market liquidity in all 8,000 stocks would just suddenly disappear and these stocks would not be able to function. He even says that in some stocks, 99% of the liquidity is provided by Citadel, and even for a day, if Citadel disappeared and ended up defaulting, those stocks would crash. Now obviously if Citadel did end up defaulting even for only a single day, that means the manipulation around AMC and GameStop would practically be entirely removed. At least 47% of all retail orders that are processed by Citadel. I think that alone would end up causing the squeeze, let alone the market crash and the wave of liquidations that would happen to all of those hedge funds out there if Citadel did default even for a single day. Now that massive wave of liquidations would indeed cause the squeeze if the lifting of manipulation even for a single day alone did not cause the squeeze on its own. So therefore, if Citadel does end up defaulting in the coming or current recession, it's likely there will be a significant systemic risk. But what exactly could cause Citadel to fail in the coming or current recession? Well, Otter has tweeted and simplified exactly what is happening in the crypto markets right now, as Binance is attempting to liquidate FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried's our media research. Otter tweeted saying CZ and Binance is going to dump their FTT, which is the FTX token, on the open market. And he said by announcing it publicly on Twitter, the market did half the work for CZ and Binance by dumping their FTT tokens even further. So CZ, the CEO of Binance, tweeted saying liquidating our FTT is just post-exit risk management, learning from Luna. He said we gave support before to Luna, but we won't pretend to make love after divorce. We are not against anyone, but we won't support people who lobby against other industry players behind their backs. And Versus BTC tweeted saying it looks like CZ is slowly dumping $500 million worth of FTT onto the market. If he continues, many of Almedia's FTT-backed loans will be liquidated, causing a death spiral. Now, if Almeida Research and FTX ends up being liquidated, there is a significant number of hedge funds out there that invested directly into FTX and into Almeida Research and hold FTT tokens. This would also likely cause Bitcoin and Ethereum and many other cryptocurrencies to crash further if FTX ended up being liquidated and being insolvent. And obviously if Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market ends up declining further, all of those hedge funds out there that have invested into crypto and have been using crypto to pump their liquidity will end up failing as well. Therefore, the bankruptcy of FTX alone could end up causing a massive wave of liquidations in hedge funds out there that would simply blow up as they wouldn't have enough liquidity to meet their margin calls. If all of this fake liquidity that is being generated from crypto suddenly disappears, similar to that fake liquidity that was generated from those Chinese IPOs, then many of these hedge funds won't have that liquidity available to continue to meet those margin requirements. And as I said, that massive wave of liquidations may end up wiping out Citadel on its own, but if it doesn't, when Citadel does fail in the coming recession, that would mean the manipulation over AMC and GameStop would be lifted. And finally, as Spence tweeted, he said on January 27th, AMC should have squeezed. On June 6th, AMC should have squeezed again. On March 31st, AMC should have squeezed. And on August 22nd, AMC and APE should have squeezed as well. Every time over the last 2 years, we have so far been cheated, but I think this time when Citadel does end up failing, AMC is guaranteed to squeeze. Now, as I said, there's a number of different circumstances in which Citadel will likely end up failing, either the coming recession when all of these stocks crash, or when crypto ends up crashing, liquidating many hedge funds that were using crypto to meet their liquidity requirements. But guys, be sure to let me know what you do think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.